So in this class, we'll discuss about creating a calculator class. Okay. So before we do all those stuff, let's understand what a calculator will does for us. Okay. So let's take a basic calculator. What are the functionalities it will be having? For example, add, multiplication, subtraction, and divide. Let's go with the basic, you know, functionalities: add, multiplication, subtraction, and divide. Okay, let's create a class. So select the package. Once you select the package, do right click, select new, and you can see a class here. Click on the class and type calculator example. Just type calculator. Now let's define the methods. Methods are nothing but functions. What calculator functions are? What are the calculator functions are? One is add. Okay, so it takes an integer number and two integer parameters, int a, int b. Okay, and what it does, it take a local variable result and it does a plus b, and finally it returns the result whoever calls it. And as it is, the result is an integer. As you are returning a integer, you have to specify the return type as integer. Shortly integer we call it as int, right? Now the next one is public void subtract. Let me call it as a simple name sub. Again here int a, int b, two parameters. So what we do is we take a integer variable, that is result, and into the result we are doing a minus b. The result of a minus b will be stored into the result. Now return result. As we are returning integer, we have to change the integer return type. It's a multiplication, do a into b and return the result, and change the data type to return type to integer. Divide int a comma int b, do int result equal to a by b, return result. Okay. So yes, we are done with the calculator function. Now the question is, how can I call this add? How can I call this sub? How can I call this multiplication? Okay, so in order to call the methods and variables of a class, we need to create an object. We already studied it, right? And using the object name, or the same thing, we can also call it as a reference variable, using which we can able to call the methods and variables inside a class. Okay, now take a main method here. Let's create a class. Let's create a object calculator, calc equal to new calculator. Okay, now calc dot add. So I'm passing 10 comma 20. So when I call this add, so it's going to execute this method. In the place of a will be having 10. In the place of b will be having 20. Now 10 plus 20 will become 30, and the 30 value will be returned to the result. Okay, now result is having the value 30, and the 30 we are returning here. Okay, so as add method is returning something, it is recommended to store its value. Okay, int result, let's say add result. Now do sys out. Okay, let's run this one. 30, that's well and good. Now the question is, in the same way you can call sub, multiplication, divide. Okay, so and print the value. For example, calc sub, so this time pass 20 comma 10, and put the result sub result, some variable you can take it, and do the sys out. Okay, now call, you should see 30 comma 10. Yes, right. So this is well and good. Now the question is, I wanted to use these functionalities such as add, sub, multiplication, divide in another class. So till now we have used all these functionalities, all these methods or functions in the same class only, in the calculator. We just created a main method, and in the main method we just created objects for these classes, object for this class, and with the object name also call it as reference variable. We call the add and subtract, and we got the result and we printed it. So that's well and good. Now the question is, I wanted to use these functions in another class. For example, I'm creating a class called new. I'm creating a new class saying calculator demo. It's a new class, doesn't have anything. So in this case, what I have to do, so if I want to execute this calculator demo, I should have a main method. Okay, now I wanted to use the methods of the functions of calculator such as add, sub, multiplication, divide in the calculator demo, remember. So in this case what I have to do is, first I have to import the class. Import, so just type calculator. Okay, do control space, you will be seeing this pop up, and just select the one and do the enter. Okay, first you have to select this calculator and you have to import it. Once you import, you have to type calculator. We have to create an object for the calculator, that's it. It's as simple as, you know, accessing the functions in the same class. Okay, however we access the add, sub, multiplication, divide, all these functions in the main method just by creating a calculator object. In the similar way we have to do in the calculator demo also. It is as simple as accessing the methods, you know, in a same class. So what we have to do, we know to access the methods and variables of a class, we have to create an object for that class. That's very clear to us. Just define now calc dot, that's it, call add 10 comma this time 40, and keep the result in add result, and do the sys out. Sys out is nothing but system.out.println, and shortcut we call like that. Let's call calc dot multiplication, which we not called right earlier. Let's use this one. So 20 comma 30, and you're going to, it's going to return a integer. Let's store it in a multiplication result, mul result, and just do a sys out here. Okay, and it's also called divide. So 20 comma 2, and it's going to return some integer value. Let's store into divide result variable and do the print. Let's run this program. So remember, if I remove this input, what happens? Okay, so this is fine. The reason is that both calculator and calculator demo are in the same class. Both calculator and calculator demo are in the same package. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you give the input or not. But if it is in a different package, for example, if the calculator demo is in a different package, so that time, so it is required to give a input. Okay, so right now it may not required. The reason is that both calculator demo and calculator are in the same package. So now let's run this one. So if you keep also, there is nothing wrong. If you can keep also, there is nothing wrong. Let's run this one. Run as Java application. Now you can say 50, 610. Okay. So that means that a class can use the functions of other class just by creating an object for that class and accessing their functions. So this is one kind of example which we'll be seeing in our later classes, and particularly in Selenium we'll be working with all these kind of things. So that's about calculator example.